'cause it only complicates. I don't wanna fight 'cause you won't communicate. Shouldn't have to ask you for flowers. Shouldn't have to ask you for flowers. Beside the phone, I'm on my own. I shouldn't have to ask you for flowers.
Hi everyone, this is Jen from OT Intuition, and today I've got Hayley from the first years, so one of the founders of the first years. This is her husband, Jono. Hi Jono.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, good. And he's kindly agreed to come on the podcast and talk about your experience.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to name, really, but I think it would be kind of the experience that I had from my point of view when my partner was giving birth, kind of the lead up to it, and obviously then everything afterwards, kind of how I dealt with that physically and mentally.
So you never received a label or a diagnosis?
No, it was an odd one because there was a physical symptom there, and then that was physically diagnosed. So I ended up having polyps of the gallbladder, which was not great, but it's not like an overly serious thing. It's something that has to get monitored, and then it can flare up at certain times.
Was it painful?
But then, yeah, so it's basically a little bit like gallstones, but they don't move. So if it's kind of in the wrong place, then it can be really painful. But for me, it was like a dull ache all the time. And then that's what got my mind whirring about what else could it be. I didn't have any answers from the doctors at that point, so I was going to just crazy places about what it might be. So I guess the diagnosis that I did get in terms of a mental health point of view was it was a health anxiety linked to physical diagnosis of these polyps that did exist. So yeah, It was a bit of an odd one.
What led them to that label? Do you know what led them to giving you that diagnosis?
I think it was part of it was eventually seeing the right doctor.
Right.
I went through quite a few. So after my son was born, went to the doctors, sort of said what my issue was, and it would just be a strain. It's possibly that you were sitting awkwardly, they said, whilst my wife was in labour, or whilst we were at the hospital. It was sitting awkwardly in that chair, so give it a couple of weeks, it'll get better. And I was like, well, I'm not sure it will. It doesn't feel like a muscular strain. Like I play a lot of sport. It doesn't feel like that, but fine, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
Went back again a couple of weeks later, still hurting. I've been thinking about this, and they're like, well, we'll do a blood test. So I did blood tests. They all come back absolutely fine. And then eventually went to the right doctor who did sort of the right thing and pressed in the right place and went, oh, that feels like a gallbladder issue to me. I'll get you in for an ultrasound. And it was finding the right person who had the right knowledge at the right time to say, right, actually it's this. And what she did as well was she listened to how it was affecting me mentally, because I think that was the big thing. It wasn't the physical side of things at all. It was what I was doing here.
Yeah.
I was checking every day. Every single day I would wake up and I'd go, does it hurt? Yeah. Okay, where does it hurt? And then I would press on the place that it would hurt. Yeah. And then I think what I was doing was I was just making it worse. I was pressing on the place. I was poking and pushing and
focusing
making
on
it actually worse, focusing on it and sort of fixating on it to the point where that's what I was thinking about all the time. And because I still hadn't got a diagnosis, I just got, right, you're going to go for this scan. Then I'm thinking, well, she said, right, okay, gallbladder, right, I'll Google that. And then when you Google things, you always get the worst case scenario straight away.
Yes, straight to death.
It's immediate death, like the worst death possible, no coming back from it.
Yeah.
And the more you Google, the more that feeds into then, well, I'll do another search and just double check. And then, oh, right, back that up, that's death then. And then you end up then going down a rabbit hole of reading news articles of people. And then your phone does this thing where it goes, oh, you've been searching for that, have you? Let me give you some articles about this person who was totally fine. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, dead. And you end up in such a rabbit hole with it that
No, and let's not forget you had
it's awful.
just become a dad for the first time as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's an important thing to note, is that this pain come on literally just after he had been born. Was that, did you say a week later?
Like literally, I would genuinely say it came on pretty much as soon as we got home from the hospital.
Wow,
And I
yeah.
don't know if it was brought on by being so stressed at the hospital and the situation that we had. It wasn't the best experience.
No,
And I felt like whilst I was there, we only got help if like we shouted the loudest.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And that's not good. And I was so worried for my partner. I was so worried for, our little boy who wasn't even with us yet, and all of that. And I think obviously these things that they'd been there before, they didn't just pop up overnight. But
no,
I don't know if all that stress did sort of exasperate the issue. I was tense. I
potentially,
was holding myself in weird places. And then the weeks that passed, had I not been in that state of stress, I think I would have just gone, oh, it hurts a little bit, but I'll leave it. But I didn't. I was poking, I was playing with it, I was pushing it, I was moving it around all over the place and just trying to work out what it was and fixating on it so much that I made it something that it
yeah.
potentially wasn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does, and it's really relatable. Like I told you in our conversation before this, like I have OCD, and like
Mm.
many other people I've spoken to with OCD, I've had different themes throughout my life, and of course, one of them's been health anxiety as well. So, yeah, I know what it's like with well, with access to social media now as well, and
Yeah.
the rabbit hole thing. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really scary, and it just intensifies all of those thoughts and feelings that you're already having. You know, a sensation in your body, it's no different to a thought that you don't want to have. If you're having a sensation that you don't want, and the more you don't want it, because in your mind that's meaning death, or you know,
Mm.
whatever it is that the story that you've now told yourself about this feeling, you basically, it's like the pink elephant in the room, isn't it? The more you're like, oh, I don't want to have this feeling for, the more it's like, oh, here I am. And then it's really hard, like you say, to focus then on all the more meaningful things, like the fact you've just become a
Yeah.
father. And you know, I can imagine maybe your partner was even, you know, angry at you at times because
Yeah.
they've just had a baby as well, and you know, you've both just become
Oh gosh.
parents. I mean, yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. Looking back now, I mean, at the time, the only way I can describe it is that for about 2 or 3 months, maybe a bit longer, after Alfie was born, it was like I was playing the part of myself. So I knew what I needed to do in that situation. I'd walk into a room and I'd go, right, what would Jono do in this situation? And then I would be like, right, Jono would do this. So then I would go and be me. But everything would take a split second longer because I'd have to think about it. Like, nothing was natural. And I
Yeah,
wasn't like mentally there at like the most important time of all of our lives. Like
yeah,
mentally, I was somewhere else. And I feel like that must have been such a stress on Hayley
yeah.
because at the same time, we'd stupidly decided that just as Alfie came along, we would have the patio done. So that's brilliant.
Of course you
And
did.
like,
Nesting, and then like nesting continues.
why did we do that? And I wasn't even in the right frame of mind to be really helping out with anything. I was just sort of floating along. And the way
Mm,
I could describe it is, yeah, like I was playing the part of myself. Like everything was
yeah,
cloudy. Like I was really
yeah,
having to think about everything. I don't feel like I was really there for Hayley. I don't think I was really there for Alfie. And it was awful. And it all came to a head when I went into work after Christmas. So Alfie was born in the November, went back to
okay,
work after Christmas, working a school. And
yeah.
uh, one of the teachers came across the playground at the start of the day and said, well, can you just help me with this? And my response was just, no, no, not got time. Can't. And then I just went into my classroom and cried and I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't be me. And
Yeah.
then there's one of the other teachers at the school I'm good friends with, and he spoke to me, said, right, you need to go and get this sorted out. Like, you need to go and take some time, like, go home and go and get this sorted out. And then I didn't actually, but bearing in mind this was the January, I didn't actually go back to work full time until April after that.
Right, okay. That's good to know
So
they
it
were
was
supportive though, your
very,
colleagues. Yeah.
yeah. And
It's so needed.
that was a big thing, that support of people around me. And obviously,
Yeah.
first and foremost, Hayley's support, and then the support that I had from work and then my family as well. Like, it would have been so much more difficult if they'd have just gone, what are you on about? There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
you. Crack on.
Yeah.
Couldn't
It's
imagine what
not
that would have
it's
been like.
You can, and it can be like that. People don't always understand, what it is you're going through, and I think they almost want you to shake out of it, snap out of it. Some people would think that,
Yeah.
and I guess seeing it from their perspective, when you're feeling better, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that now. Why you would have been angry at me, or why you didn't understand why I was having a reaction to such a normal thing. Because, if you're of healthy mind, then you have a pain, you think, oh, I'll sort that out at some point, usually put it off for a bit, but eventually get there.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
anyone, that whole process can still be stressful, but they would just handle it if they're more, I haven't been through everything that you've just been through as a new father. You might have been vulnerable to it anyway for whatever reason, but someone of a healthy mind would have dealt with it differently. But
Yeah.
you were not in a place where you were able to do that at the time. So the way that you reacted to it was, similar to how I know when I had the intrusive thoughts, was to really dive into the story that your mind was telling yourself about that
Yeah.
symptom,
Yeah.
and get so lost in it and become so unwell, because it's hard to think about anything else, isn't it? And it doesn't matter what it is. It's just really hard to pull yourself away from whatever it is.
It is. And I think you got to the point where everything that happened was then further validation that, well, this is awful. And it got to the point where one morning I was thinking, well, I'm going to start recording little videos for Alfie so that he'll have them on his birthdays when I'm not there. And like, looking back, that's like, what was I
Yeah.
thinking? Of course I'm going to be there. But
Yeah.
at the time, it was so real. I decided that this was it. Like,
Yeah.
given everything that I'd looked into and everything that I'd Googled and found out myself, this is the most logical thing to me. Next year, I won't be here next year, so I will
Yeah.
get all these videos recorded for him so that he's got something to remember me by. And like,
No,
that was what was going through my head.
it's so horrible that you had to go through that. And was Hayley and or anyone else aware that you were making those videos?
So I didn't actually make them. So that, let me be clear, that was my thought process of, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make those.
Okay.
I'm going to write letters to him. And I think
Yeah.
that was the morning that I went back to work and then just kind of lost it at work, and then ended up starting to get it sorted properly, and actually but basically what I did was, at this point, I'd got the waiting list for this scan, which could be April at this point. And
Yeah.
probably wrong of me, but I just went and sat in A&E because I just went and sat in A&E, and I was like, I need to see somebody. I've got a scan potentially in April, but I'm not going to make it till April.
It's
Do you know what I
not
mean?
really.
That was my head.
Yeah, but it's not wrong of you, because why should mental health really be that different to physical health? Because if it's having that much of an impact on you, that it's got potential
Yeah.
to, cause detrimental sort of harm, anyway. So I don't think it's wrong that you went to A&E. I think you were doing what felt right for you at the time, and to feel
Yeah.
in crisis mode as well was really scary. To feel, all sorts of things. It can be different for everyone, but yeah, I think you did the right thing. So how did that go? The A&E visit?
Well, it kind of kick-started everything. Saw a doctor there. they did the same tests and they sort of poked around a bit and went, well, we'll get you in for the scan tomorrow, which was like
Wow.
best case scenario. So went in, had the scan, results came back, which then confirmed a physical issue, but
Yeah.
that physical issue wasn't horrendous. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't life-threatening.
Yeah.
And that's immediate sort of weight off shoulders. But then it then took a long time for me to stop pressing and checking. So I was then referred to a therapist. So I went and did CBT for 10 sessions. So I
Okay.
did 10 sessions of that and talked through it, and just having somebody to talk to who I had no relationship with
Yeah.
whatsoever really helped, because I could just tell him everything. There was no judgment there. It was brilliant. And the big thing that they said to me was, why has your mind gone to the worst case scenario when, to get to that worst case, this has got to happen, this has got to happen, this has got to happen, and this has got to happen. And when you look at, say, 1 million people go to the doctors with this problem, 999,000 of them will be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
That infinitesimal percent, it'll be something that is horrendous, the thing that I'm thinking it is. Why would that be me? So it's like, why focus on that when there's so many stages to go through beforehand? And I was thinking, actually, that's what sort of clicked a little bit for
Yeah.
me. That
That's
mindset
good.
of, right, okay, worst case scenario, of course it's possible, but to get to that, there's got to be so many other stages to go through that I'm not at yet.
So do you think that was like a reassurance thing in that moment?
Yeah, in the sense that I needed somebody to tell me that didn't have a vested interest in me.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't reliant on me to get better, if that makes sense.
That's
So,
interesting. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that is really interesting. And how did your mind cope with, like, following on from that bit of reassurance? I'm just intrigued. And from a therapist point of view, how did your mind move on from that? Did that is that sustained? You know, that well, that reassurance, has that been sustained? Has that stayed with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it took time.
Yeah.
And I genuinely feel like I felt myself over that period of a few months just becoming me again. And then I've had issues since. We all get little kind of niggles here and there or whatever. And
Yeah.
I've not felt myself need to go down that path again. I don't know if it's because I'm in a place where I'm not as physically and mentally tired as I was then, so I'm stronger and more able to do that. But no, I do put part of it down to that therapy that I had and what was said there, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think so. And what you said about where you are sort of now to where you were then, with, you know, with, like you say, you would have had a newborn and
Yeah.
been sleep deprived, and there's also like it's not just there's a word called matrescence. So the person that's given birth, it's more sort of associated with, is going through all these sort of identity shifts, and that's not just to do with your outward identity, but all your sort of hormones and the changes in the structure of your brain. I mean, there's loads if you read about it. But I did also come across the word putrescence. So I'm assuming that's for the, you know, the male partner, but I also like to think of the non-birthing partner as well, and I've been sort of exploring that side of things in terms of how you're going through this massive identity shift as well as the other parent, not necessarily the one that's given birth. So
Yeah.
I mean, there is scientific evidence that your brain still changes even as the partner, but not to I think the extent of the person who's carried and given birth to the
Yeah.
baby. But you're carrying all of that as well. You're going through all of that and then dealing with a potential health concern. And of course, you would have just been really hyper vigilant to that because you would have, been in like protector mode as well because you're
Yeah.
protecting the life of your
Yeah.
baby. And in that, you think, well, I need to be here for them. But it sounds like you lost hope because of this symptom that you were having that
Mm.
spiraled. And then, just I know I'm just sorry that you went through that. But you got the help, and that's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, that feeling of needing to be there,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden that feeling of I'm not going to be. It was horrible, and I felt so guilty because I was like, I'm going to leave Hayley behind. I'm going to leave Alfie behind. I'm not going to be there
Mm.
for him. And all that time that I was worrying about that was actually making me not be there for them,
In
like
that, yeah.
mentally at the time anyway. So it was, yeah, and it was hard to see at the time because I could obviously feel how I felt, and I knew what I was feeling, but I knew Hayley didn't fully understand, and I knew Alfie obviously didn't. And I just, yeah, I just, I do feel bad that I think I wasn't all there and didn't do as much as I could have done
Do you still
at the
carry
time.
that now, do you think?
A little
Yeah.
bit, yeah. But I also sort of look at it as well in terms of, I suppose there's an ever so slight positive there in the sense that I look back on it, and this is going to sound odd because there
It
was
won't
no
sound
life
good.
threatening experience whatsoever. But I look back on that period of thinking that I'm not going to be here
Yeah.
and go, well, I am. So let's just enjoy everything and just have the best time that we possibly can and put everything into Alfie and Hayley and just, really trying to be there. So
Yeah.
I suppose if you look at it that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that sounds basically so something I came across when I was unwell and I now practice as a therapist is acceptance and commitment therapy. And that's
Okay.
basically like what you just said. So it's more about really accepting uncertainty. So for me, I had intrusive thoughts about harm, which was really scary because it was
Yeah.
initially about others harming my baby, but then it was me. And also then because I'm a bio and non-bio mum, it was then bringing in
Hmm.
my non-bio son into it as well, which was just an additional layer. So a lot of my and this was therapy that I sought myself really through exploring on the internet excessively at the time because I was
Yeah.
poorly. So this is why I was intrigued about the reassurance that you got, but that's because I had OCD. That's what my diagnosis was. So CBT for OCD can actually make it worse because it's asking you to ruminate. It's some of the questions that CBT presents is kind of giving you it it's looking for like black and white thinking almost. It's like, well, try and think of this, what's the worst possible thing that can happen and then what's the likelihood that
Yeah.
would actually happen. And it sounds like that's what potentially he did, or I think you said he was a man, your therapist did with you.
Yeah.
So then for me that wouldn't have worked because I would always sort of override any if they said, oh well, this is the more positive option, my brain would always, because I think my OCD was just quite cruel, it would always override it and be like, oh well, I'll just have this instead then, or this will happen instead. So it was really tricky, and it would literally happen as they'd given me this reassurance and my brain would already have come up with something against that to continue this cycle of feeling unwell at the time. Probably before the meds started working, I'd say. But yeah, let me get back to my point. So acceptance and commitment therapy, yeah. So CBT's more like what I just explained, and then acceptance and commitment therapy is more for your situation. It would be okay, accept that you're having a pain and you don't really need to know what that means, which is like you said, different for you because yours did turn out to actually be a physical issue that you were having. And that was, it's not saying if you're having a health problem, don't go and check it out because you've got OCD, so it doesn't mean anything. You're right to go and check it out if you're genuinely concerned. But then once you've got that information like you had, someone with OCD would probably still continue to ruminate about it despite having the scan that you had. So yeah, acceptance and commitment therapy is more about, like you said, you've had continuous niggles. So accepting any experience that you're having, whether it's within your body or your mind, and throwing yourself into what matters to you in life. So your values, so your
Yeah.
child, your wife, like you said, your job sounds important to you, all of those things, even if you've got that fear coming along with you. It's not about getting rid of the fear, but ultimately that does happen. The more you practice acceptance
Yeah.
and commitment therapy, the fear reduces naturally, just by you continuing to engage in what's important.
Yeah.
So that's what I did ultimately. So I was just intrigued from what you had told me before we spoke now. I was wondering if it sounded more like OCD or just
Well,
intense health worries.
yeah. I think it's interesting about the OCD side of things because
Yeah.
this is something that Hayley spoke about to me afterwards, after I was quote unquote better. And she was like, do you think this started before Alfie was born with other things? Because she sort of reminded me of how I got a little bit sort of obsessive over getting the house ready. And we'd just moved into a new house at the start of the year. And I was like, right, we're going to get it all sorted out. We found out Hayley was pregnant. I was like, right, now that's a time limit on things. So we're going to get everything sorted. So decorate everywhere, have the bathroom done, sort stuff, just get everything sorted so it's all perfect. And then in the weeks running up to Alfie's birth, we got a leak in the living room. And I was like, oh, God, okay. So got it sorted, patched it up. But then, and I'd forgotten about this, but Hayley was like, you do realise that pretty much every morning for the next couple of weeks, first thing you do when you went downstairs was go around every corner of the room with a torch just to check if there was anything there in terms of water. And I was like, oh yeah, I did do that. And thinking about that, I was checking that every morning. I was going through, I was checking, right, no, it's fine. Checking. And the next day I would check, even though it hadn't rained. What? I'm going to check. And actually thinking about it, was that maybe linked in the sense that that was me checking something, and then I needed to find something else to check. And that's something that the therapist did say, that the kind of the danger with it is sometimes is if you don't have a coping strategy for it, that once you get past one thing, your brain will find something else to go, well, I'll focus on that instead then, and I will just start checking all of this. Maybe that's the thing that I'll just need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it potentially, yeah. So it might be worth you exploring. I'm not, saying you have to have acceptance and commitment therapy, but that worked really well for me, but not on its own. Like I used it with other things like mindfulness and I think self-compassion was a big one for me because I had a lot of shame. And not to say you wouldn't too, because of course you get all that guilt and you potentially still have, memories of it coming up now, and then you get like a rush of guilt, but maybe now you're in a better headspace, you are more able to rationalize, aren't you, like what's important, what isn't. Yeah, but it's something that potentially, I think, if you've got that mindset, and it seems to be more common in neurodivergence as well. So I don't know if there's any neurodivergence in your family, but I am diagnosed ADHD and dyslexic, and OCD does seem to be more you're more vulnerable to it if you have neurodivergence. Yeah, so worth exploring these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So once you'd had that therapy, did you
Mm.
receive anything else?
In terms of
Any other
from the NHS type things,
like
no,
talking therapies once did you do
no.
the whole 10
So
sessions?
I did the whole lot. I did the whole lot, and then it was sort of the question was asked at the end of it, like, do you think this has helped? And like, because I'd gone into it almost thinking, surely 10 weeks is not gonna. But actually, I felt week on week that I could feel this sort of cloud like lifting, as it were, and
Yeah.
no, genuinely, by the end of those 10 weeks, I was like, you know what, I think I'm okay in terms of I think I
Yeah.
can do this on my own now.
That's great.
I think I'm all right to go away from the therapy and just take what I got from it and
Mm.
kind of put it into practice without that safety net of having the therapist every week.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it does eventually get to that point, which is yeah, it's a good sign, isn't it? When you feel like, not sure if I need this session.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, that's like a bit of a roller coaster. So how have you been since then? Would you say you've been quite plain sailing?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
And what I found as well is that there's been a few of my friends have had children since,
Yeah.
and or a few of my friends have been thinking about having children, and they've asked, like, oh, what was it like for you? And I've just been honest, and it's been
Yeah.
really nice to have that chat with them and say, like, it is literally the best thing ever,
Yeah.
but I also felt like this. And to say, like, it's not easy, and things are going to be hard, and you might find yourself going to kind of strange places, and
Yeah.
you know what, that's perfectly fine, that's perfectly normal, and if we all talk about it, then actually maybe it is normal. Like, the friend that I had at work that I mentioned earlier, who said, right, you just need to go home.
Yeah.
I spoke to him, and he said, look, when I had my first, I just didn't know what I was doing. I had an absolute panic attack, convinced that I was dying, and ended up round on my neighbour's doorstep at 3 o'clock in the morning, knocking on the door, going, "I need help." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Why does nobody talk about this?"
It's
I had to have the problem for this to be talked about. I'm thinking, I'm so glad you've told me, because I don't
yeah.
feel alone. So let's all talk about it. And I had another friend at the time who his baby was due 2 or 3 months after mine, and he was in such a panic. Like, I'm like, I need to get everything ready. I need to get everything sorted. And I was like, I get it. I get it. And I was able to talk to him a little bit. And I was able to talk to him about how I was feeling. And he was mirroring certain things, not with the health anxiety, but with other things that he was talking about. And just that chat helped us both feel so much better
Uh,
and think that actually this is normal. This is
It
what
just
people go
shows,
through.
yeah, how needed this is. Like for them to have you is great. Like you say, that experience was really not. It wasn't good for you to go through, but it's actually brought about these conversations that you've been able to have with your
Mm,
friends. And yeah, if it wasn't for them knowing that you'd been through that, then they may have not opened up, and they might have suffered in silence and spiraled.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
no, it really is. It's so worthwhile, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because it can be really misunderstood even by professionals. So it's really important. I had a review the other day, fan mail. I've never had one. I had fan mail, and it
nice.
was from a
Yeah,
therapist saying that they'd come across my podcast, and they were just really grateful to have come across it because it's helped them to be a better therapist
yeah,
and to give their clients better support. I was just like, wow, that's why I'm doing this, and that's why you're here now doing this. You're the first person who identifies as male as well to come onto the podcast. Yeah. I've done one before, but it didn't get launched. But yeah, so congratulations.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.
No, that's fine. It's really nice because, like I said, I think it can be harder for people who identify as men as well to come forward and have these conversations. You know, I'm a mummy to two boys now, and I want them to grow up having role models like yourself. I want them to talk about their feelings and experiences and not hold it all in. Thank you for, yeah, doing this. And you've got a little boy yourself, so
Yeah.
he's got you as, you know, it's a great role model to have, someone who's openly speaking out like you are. So yeah, well done.
Well, thank you
Is
very
there
much.
any advice just before you go? Because I know it's getting late.
Yeah.
Any advice you would give, like your top one or two pieces of advice you would give to someone who's really in it right now?
Yeah. I think focus on what matters. And by that, I mean, one of the things that really helped me, and I suppose part of it was a timing thing as well, was when Alfie like smiled for the first time, and like that just, I don't know, like it just changed everything. Like he went from being something that somebody that I loved to somebody that I just would do anything for. And it
Yeah.
was just ridiculous. And having that to focus on and think, you know what, I'm not going to let this sort of beat me. I'm going to get better. That was a big deal. So focus on
Yeah.
things like that. Focus on the good stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, don't stop being you. Just because you've got a new label, you don't stop being you. Like,
Yeah.
I stopped doing all the sport that I like. I stopped doing any of the filmmaking stuff. I just stopped. And I don't think that was necessarily because Alfie was born. I think I should have found time to do that as well around everything else. Obviously, the main priority is Alfie and Hayley, but I should have found time for myself. And
Absolutely, yeah.
with the issues that I had, I just didn't have it in me to do any of that sort of stuff. And actually, what I should have done was gone, no, you're going to do it. You're going to go out. You're going to go and play tennis. You're going to go to gymnastics. You're going to do that just for one night a week, just to go and have that release and just to be you still. And I know Hayley's had that issue as well, where she's just felt like mum, and at times she has that battle where it's like, I need to be mum 100% or I'm not doing my job. And I'm like, yes, you do, but I'm also here so I can deal with it. If you need to go and be yourself for a little bit, go and do something. And the same works sort of both ways. And it's just, yeah, if you can find time to do the things that make you feel better, you'll be better for everybody else who's, I don't know, for want of a better word, got to deal with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's about filling up your own cup, not letting yourself sort of burn out, and just having that capacity to deal with, at the moment, a dysregulated toddler, no doubt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, so just finding those small moments, isn't it, to just like remember who you are and do something, even if it's really small, to just bring you back to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. No, thank you, Jono. That
That's all
was
right.
really great. And yeah, I'm just feel really excited to have this to put out to other people. I think it's gonna be really helpful. Thanks for being so open.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. Good luck with yours as well, your little ones.
Yeah, they're asleep. They're asleep. Yeah.
Well, I'm not entirely sure if Alfie's in bed or not, because I dashed home from grandparents' house where Alfie's been today. So Hayley's either brought him back in like completely silently and he's upstairs asleep, or he'll be in the next few minutes, and we'll either have to carry him upstairs unconscious or he'll be all over the place. It'll be one of
Oh,
two.
no.
So
Okay,
we'll see.
okay. All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You stay, I'll go. show face for us both. I wanna please, so I'm walking on tiptoes. Tell you you're strong, but you think that I'm wrong. Know what you need, so I water your ego. And I bite my tongue, 'cause you always heal me wrong. I don't wanna have to laugh and hate. I don't wanna talk 'cause it only complicates. I don't wanna fight 'cause you won't communicate. Shouldn't have to ask you for flowers. I never know what time you're coming home. I don't wanna sit all night beside the phone. Even when you're here, it's like I'm on my own. I shouldn't have to ask you for flowers. If I'm honest, no, we can't sustain this. I doubt you even remember my birthday. And every time we drink, you fall apart. When I try to speak, you make it harder.